If you've ever felt that fire inside you, the one that whispers you're meant for more, but your body refuses to move, stay with me for the next 10 seconds. Because what you're about to hear isn't motivation. It's a confrontation. There's a unique kind of heartbreak that belongs to ambitious minds who struggle with discipline. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It's silent, slow, and suffocating. It's waking up every morning with big visions in your chest and going to bed every night knowing you didn't take one real step toward them. It's the ache of wanting a better life, but feeling trapped behind your own hesitation, your own exhaustion, your own patterns. And let's honest, it's not because you're weak, it's not because you're incapable. It's because somewhere along the way, discipline became tied to shame. You didn't just miss a day of effort. You called yourself a failure. You didn't just procrastinate. You attacked your own worth. And when your identity becomes the enemy, discipline starts to feel like a punishment instead of a pathway. But here's the truth that stings and frees us at the same time. Ambition without discipline becomes a wound. A deep, unspoken wound that makes you question your potential, your character, your future. Today, I want us to rip the cover off that wound, not to blame ourselves, but to understand ourselves. You can't fix what you won't face, and you can't rise above what you keep denying. This isn't about forcing discipline. It's about reclaiming your power, one honest moment at a time. There's a moment ambitious people never say out loud. The moment when you look at your goals and feel scared. Not scared of failing, but scared of trying. Because trying forces you to face the truth. Maybe you're not as consistent as the world thinks you are. Maybe you're not as driven as your dreams require. And that fear sits quietly under the skin, shaping every excuse, every delay, every distraction. Ambitious minds have a unique challenge. You see a bigger picture so clearly that the small steps feel painfully slow. You want the breakthrough, the transformation, the outcome, but the daily grind feels insulting. Why should I take tiny steps when I'm capable of giant leaps? But giant leaps don't happen without microscopic repetitions. And microscopic repetitions feel boring, unglamorous, and brutally humbling. So you postpone, you delay, you wait for the perfect moment, the perfect mood, the perfect surge of motivation, knowing deep down it rarely comes. That waiting becomes a silent battle no one sees. You look put together on the outside, but inside you're fighting waves of guilt, frustration, self-doubt, and the fear that your potential is slipping through your fingers. And here's the heavy truth. Ambition is a gift, but without discipline, it becomes a burden you carry instead of a tool you use. It weighs on your chest. It drains your peace. It whispers, you could be more. While your actions whisper back, maybe not today. The battle isn't laziness. It's emotional exhaustion. It's fear disguised as delay. And acknowledging it is the first step to breaking it. Let's talk about the part no one explains, why discipline feels heavier for ambitious people. You're not avoiding effort because you're lazy. You're not avoiding effort because you're terrified that the effort still won't be enough. That's the hidden pressure no one sees. When your dreams are big, every small action feels like it carries the weight of your entire future. And that pressure doesn't motivate you. It paralyzes you. Ambitious minds feel deeply. You don't just want success, you want significance. You don't want progress, you want transformation. And because you dream in big, vivid colors, small steps feel like black and white scribbles. They don't feel like they match the scale of who you want to become. So discipline becomes emotionally expensive. Every task feels like a test. Every routine feels like judgment. Every moment you fall short feels like proof that maybe your dreams were too bold, too unrealistic, too much for you to hold. And this emotional weight turns discipline into something that feels overwhelming instead of empowering. But here's the twist that changes everything. Discipline isn't supposed to feel inspiring. It's supposed to feel neutral. It's supposed to feel simple, repeatable, unromantic. Discipline doesn't ask you to be extraordinary. It asks you to show up, especially when you feel ordinary. Your ambitious mind keeps trying to make discipline dramatic, meaningful, life-changing. But the truth is, discipline becomes powerful only when it becomes boring. It's the quiet repetition that builds the loud results. And once you unhook discipline from emotion, the entire game changes. Suddenly, consistency doesn't hurt. It becomes doable. There's a truth most ambitious people don't want to look at. You're not delaying because you don't care. You're delaying because you care too much. You care so deeply about getting it right that you avoid starting at all. Perfectionism isn't loud, it whispers. It says, not yet, not today. You're not ready. And because you trust that voice, your dreams stay on pause while your intentions keep running ahead of you. You tell yourself you'll start when life calms down, when you feel more confident, when the timing feels aligned. But life rarely calms down. Confidence rarely arrives before action. And alignment is something you build, not something you wait for. The truth is simple, but uncomfortable. You delay because starting exposes you. It forces you to see where you're strong and where you're not. It strips away fantasy and replaces it with reality. And for an ambitious mind, reality can feel disappointing because it looks smaller than the dream. But here's what no one tells you. Every great dream is born in small. Every powerful chapter starts with an unimpressive sentence. Every giant transformation begins with a fragile, awkward, imperfect step. And delaying that step doesn't protect you. It suffocates you. It keeps you stuck in a life you've outgrown. It keeps you rehearsing instead of living. It keeps you planning instead of becoming. The moment you start, even if it's messy, you break the cycle. Action is the antidote to avoidance. Motion is the cure for mental pressure. Small steps are the bridge to big visions. Let's talk about the part that almost no one acknowledges. The emotional pain that comes with changing your patterns. People say, just be disciplined, as if discipline is a switch you flip, not a battle you fight. What they don't understand is that when you try to build new habits, you're not just fighting distraction, you're fighting your history. You're fighting every moment you gave up, every promise you broke to yourself, every time you felt like you weren't enough. Ambitious minds carry those memories heavily. You don't forget your failures, you catalog them. You don't shrug off your mistakes, you replay them. And when you try to step into a new version of yourself, those old voices return. Are you really going to stick with it this time? How long before you fall off again? What makes you think you've changed? And that emotional weight makes progress feel painful, not because you're weak, but because you're shedding an old identity. And shedding anything familiar, even if it's unhealthy, hurts. But here's the truth you need to hear. Discipline isn't just about routines. It's about rewriting the story you tell yourself. Every time you show up, even for 5 minutes, you're telling your brain, I'm not who I used to be. Every time you take one small action, you're breaking neural pathways built from years of doubt, avoidance, and self-sabotage. That's not easy work. That's brave work. Change is supposed to feel uncomfortable. Not because you're failing, but because you're finally growing beyond the limits you once believed were permanent. Motivation is the most overrated fuel ambitious people rely on. And ironically, it's the reason many ambitious minds stay stuck. Because you keep waiting for a feeling, an emotional spark, to carry you into the life you want. But motivation isn't a beginning, it's a bonus. It's a visitor, not a resident. It comes and goes based on sleep, mood, hormones, stress, weather conversations, and even what you saw on your phone this morning. When you depend on motivation, you give temporary emotions permanent power over your future. Ambitious people struggle with this more than anyone because you crave intensity. You want the surge, the rush, the fire. You want to feel unstoppable before you start. And when that feeling doesn't show up, you don't show up either. Not because you don't care, but because your brain has learned to associate progress with passion instead of consistency. Here's the truth you've probably avoided. You don't need to feel ready. You need to feel responsible. Responsibility is quiet. It's steady. It doesn't give you fireworks. It gives you forward movement. And forward movement is the one thing motivation can never sustain. Real discipline is built on something much simpler, and much less glamorous than motivation. Agreements with yourself that don't expire when your mood changes. One tiny agreement: I will do this for 5 minutes, will build more success than waiting for the perfect emotional moment for 5 weeks. If you stop worshiping motivation and start honoring small agreements, you won't need energy to begin. The beginning will create the energy. There's a moment every ambitious mind needs to understand. The moment where your brain begins to trust you again. Because that's the real reason discipline feels so hard. Your brain doesn't believe your promises anymore. You've said, I'll start tomorrow, 100 tomorrows in a row. You've made plans bigger than your follow through. You've dreamed louder than you've acted. And your brain learned to protect you from the disappointment of broken commitments by shutting down your drive. But here's the beautiful thing: the brain can be rebuilt through the smallest actions imaginable. 5 minutes of focus, 1 completed task, 1 page written, 1 step taken, 1 choice honored. These tiny wins aren't insignificant. They're neurological proof. Proof that you're shifting. Proof that you're becoming someone your future can rely on. And your brain responds to proof far faster than it responds to pressure. Small actions are powerful because they bypass overwhelm. They silence the inner critic. They interrupt the narrative that says you're inconsistent, unreliable, or undisciplined. They create momentum without announcing it. And momentum, even in microscopic amounts, begins to restore something you desperately need: self-trust. Once your brain starts seeing you show up, even in small ways, everything changes. Tasks feel lighter. Routines feel doable. Discipline feels less like a punishment and more like a partnership. And that's when the magic happens, not because you suddenly became stronger, but because you started honoring yourself in ways your older patterns never allowed. Small actions don't just create progress, they create identity. And identity is what fuels a disciplined life. There comes a moment in every ambitious person's life when pressure stops helping and starts suffocating. You felt it? That tightness in your chest, that urgency that feels less like motivation and more like a threat. Pressure says, hurry. Purpose says, begin. And the difference between the two can completely reshape how discipline feels inside your body. Pressure tells you that everything must happen fast. Purpose reminds you that everything meaningful happens steadily. Pressure shames you for being behind. Purpose invites you to start where you are. Pressure screams that you're wasting your potential. Purpose whispers that your potential isn't fragile. It's patient. And when you stop chasing your goals from a place of frantic urgency, something powerful happens. Your discipline stops collapsing under emotional weight. It becomes intentional instead of reactive. It becomes grounded instead of guilt-driven. Ambitious minds often confuse pressure with purpose because both push you forward. But pressure drains you, purpose fuels you. Pressure makes you feel like you're constantly failing. Purpose makes you feel like you're finally becoming. Purpose-based discipline isn't about intensity, it's about direction. It's choosing one meaningful action over 10 dramatic ones. It's remembering why you want this life, not just how quickly you want it. And when your why becomes stronger than your fear, your habits stop feeling like chores and start feeling like alignment. You don't need more pressure. You need more clarity. You need a reason that outlives your mood. Your excuses and your self-doubt, when discipline connects to purpose, even your slowest days become progress. Here's the part ambitious minds hate to admit. Discipline is messy. Real progress isn't linear. You will falter. You will procrastinate. You will skip days, miss deadlines, and doubt yourself. And yet, these imperfections aren't the evidence of failure. They are proof that you are alive, engaged, and growing. Ambitious people often tie identity to results. If you slip, you believe your worth slips too. But that's a lie your mind loves to tell. Your worth isn't measured by a perfect streak. It's measured by the courage to return again and again, despite the mess. Every day you show up, even broken or tired, you are defying the story that ambition and laziness are incompatible. You are proving that human beings can carry big dreams and flawed execution. The journey isn't supposed to feel smooth. It's supposed to feel real. The messy, awkward, imperfect work is the glue that binds your intentions to your outcomes. Waiting for the perfect version of yourself to appear will only keep you frozen. The only way forward is to act, stumble, reflect, and act again. And here's the secret: the repetition of showing up messy, incomplete, imperfect rewires your brain. It shifts your identity from someone who procrastinates to someone who persists. Your ambition doesn't shrink in the mess. It grows stronger. It becomes resilient. It learns patience. It learns endurance. The disciplined life isn't born in smooth, shiny victories. It's born in the willingness to embrace imperfection while relentlessly pursuing progress. Here's the truth every ambitious mind needs to hear before walking away. Discipline isn't a punishment, a burden, or a test. Discipline is the bridge between the life you imagine and the life you actually live. It's the quiet, repetitive, sometimes messy practice that transforms potential into reality. And here's the most important part: it doesn't demand perfection. It demands presence. You've carried dreams that scare you, weighed yourself against visions that felt impossible, and doubted your own consistency. That's normal. That's human. But the person who masters discipline isn't the one who never falters. It's the one who keeps returning. The one who understands that showing up, even in the smallest ways, is far more powerful than waiting for monumental inspiration. Ambition without discipline is like a fire without oxygen, a beautiful idea trapped in darkness. Discipline without purpose is like motion without direction, exhausting and hollow. But when you fuse your ambition with consistent, purpose-driven action, something magical happens. Your mind stops resisting. Your habits stop suffocating you. Your dreams stop being fantasies and start being inevitable. So today, start small. Start imperfectly. Start messy. Start courageously. Honor your commitments to yourself, even when no one is watching. Build self-trust like it's sacred, because it is. And know this: every tiny action, repeated daily, compounds into unstoppable transformation. Your ambition deserves more than waiting. Your potential deserves more than excuses. Your life deserves more than the comfort of inaction. Show up, persist, repeat, and watch the ambitious mind, once trapped by laziness, finally soar. The only thing standing between you and your extraordinary life is the courage to begin again and again.